it. He would get a fever, have to stay in bed, and then puke. By the time Kai would get to our house, he'd be ready to play. And it got to the point where I had to have the cool class and bucket out, like if I told him that he was coming, just to get ready. Like, it was ridiculous. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
School was so hard for Koa. In grade 2, he came home crying, and we had to chat on his bed. He said his eyes watered too much, and the lights hurt his head, and his ears hurt from so much noise, and the colors he saw around people made it hard to see the board. So off to the ears and eye specialist. Perfect vision, healthy eyes. Perfect hearing, healthy ears. He was an avid learner, and when he was interested in something, he became a genius at it. By the age of 7, he knew more about spiders than Wikipedia will ever know. It's true. But his learning style didn't fit the school structure, which led to special needs labeling, which led to bullying in almost every single grade. It broke my heart. But he was true to his name and so brave. He kept trying and trying. He tried so hard to be good at school that he would cry over his homework. Even when I tried to get him to stop and go play, he would just keep working through his tears. It was heartbreaking for me. School was not for him, and luckily he had some good friends throughout his life that lessened the burden. And Michaela and Davina loved him immensely. And together they would play endless, highly imaginative, intricate games together. He got to experience a lot of joy in our family unit, as you can see in the photos and as a lot of you remember. But throughout his life, he still often talked about going back home to the Angels. He would tell me in detail that what he was seeing when he looked around, and his descriptions were usually beautiful, sometimes not. Sometimes I didn't want to hear what he was saying, but he was never scared. His whole life,
Mama,
I was
I made
nervous,
my own crown.
feeling like he was held here by a string.
I made my crown. You see,
I
there's
remember
these
getting
all
drunk
on
and crying
every
on
side.
Friendship more than once because I hoped he would pass before me. I tried so hard to engage him in sports, alternative programs, his passions. Other people tried, like Mei-Ling tried so hard to get him into all sorts of school systems, and she tried every single different program on Salt Spring that she could find to fit him in, and there was enough, like we tried so many different programs and nothing worked. He still talked about wanting to die. As Koa got older and turned into a teen, life got even harder for him, trying to fit into social structures that were backwards to his true, gentle, loving, giving spirit. He would literally shudder with disappointment when I brought home meat that was raised unethically. He'd get mad at me about that a lot. And same with like butter. Like he would make me buy $16 bricks of butter. Like I was like, hey, we have to split it at least. We had a chart on the fridge of like how much butter, and we split it at like $16.
You eat 90% of it.
Yeah, this Coors brick, don't touch it, it's like gold. But that's how he was. And the noises of regular traffic and life hurt his inside of his ears. He was like in physical discomfort. The way people live in stress, discomfort, greed, and disconnection with their inner truth just really, really bothered him. His wisdom and brilliance were actually beyond anyone's that I've yet to meet. And I know a lot of people who have had deep discussions with him feel the same. I know people always knew to have a conversation with Koa, you got to be prepared to go deep. He was incapable of small talk. He went straight to the truth of every conversation and often spoke in riddles that had you stewing for days, and sometimes they'd just be over my head. And many of us would slough off the hidden gems of wisdom like, oh, that's just Koa being Koa, and later realizing the profundity of his words, and sometimes just never quite getting it. His predictions were always accurate and precise. He was a boy ahead of his time. He loved me so much. He had a plan when he got his last job at the gas station to save up his paycheck so he could take me, Michaela, and Davina to Vancouver and stay in the nicest hotel he could find us. He wanted to take us to dinner at Michaela's favorite spot, the rotating restaurant.
Aww.
And he wanted to take us all shopping for clothes because he loved fashion and he loved shopping. And he had it all calculated out how many paychecks he would need and everything, but he was fired. He couldn't handle that kind of. Towards the end of his experience here, he began to talk more and more about being self-loving and treating ourselves like kings and queens. He saw the value within each person that they themselves couldn't see. His intense anger towards me, I realize now, was a result of the pain he felt because he saw that I was diminishing myself and he wanted me to be happy so badly. Unfortunately, this slew of psychologists and psychiatrists never caught on to that. He went through so much of that, psychiatrist, psychologist, medical system, trying to figure that stuff out. And nothing came of that ever. He was also obsessed with the truth. He'd ask me a question like, how are you? And I'd just be like, absentmindedly answer. And then he'd get so mad. And he'd call me a liar. It was rattling. He wouldn't let me get away with being distracted, stressed, or anxious. He shook me until I had to bring everything in my life to a standstill and listen. And what he was saying all along was the truth. Everyone deserves more. He wanted me so badly to be happy and follow my heart and treat myself well and be present in the moment. He wanted me to treat myself like the queen he saw in me. But not just me, he wanted everyone to see their own value and worth and treat themselves well and be true to our hearts. He talked endlessly about ending suffering and pain and being free. He talked about living like the fool who steps off the cliff onto an invisible bridge in innocent faith. Stay foolish, stay hungry was one of his favorite Steve Jobs quotes. Koa once told me about a Kobe. He said it's a fireball of chaos that explodes in your life and leads you to enlightenment and self-love. Through his behavior, Koa forced me to change my mindset and patterns of thought that had me rushing, feeling guilty, and undeserving. And for him, I had to stop and come to a place of peace within myself because I wanted to help him so much, and I knew I had to be stronger for him. So I made a commitment to change myself for my beautiful, loving angel boy, because I would do anything for him. So I started eating better, I slowed down, and I actually felt the ground when I walked. And I started listening to my heart and to ask it questions, and I started listening. And I realized that as I slowed down, I was able to see people more clearly, and the light coming out of their eyes and the love within themselves, and I started to appreciate myself. Koa tested me so many times to make sure I was anchored in this place firmly, and he treated me in the worst way he possibly could, and he knows my triggers well. And I felt nothing but pure love for him, and he waited until he saw that I forgave Dove for our issues and that I truly did value myself. Koa's life was a life of service. Towards the end of his life, Koa said that his life was perfect, and I could see the contentment in his face. He was living with Devin, Mei Ling, and Kaylin on Salt Spring in their beautiful, peaceful home. He liked his job at the neighbor's apple orchard and immersed himself in his passions, art, jewelry making, fashion, and writing. Dove took him supping, taught him how to drive and exploring, and their connection was beautiful to see. And he loved Mailing and Kaylin. And I know Kaylin, he got to do fun stuff with you, right? Go hiking and draw pictures, and he would watch your favorite movies with you, and he loves you so much. And he has nothing but good things to say about you too, and how much you help him. The last visit I had with him was one of the happiest times of my life. I had to take extra days off work at Habit. Thank you, Maddie, for always being so understanding about everything. Because we were enjoying each other's company so much. I sat on his bed and he showed me all his new art, and we drew together, and he read me his incredible poetry, and he showed me his powerful 2-page prayer that he was trying to memorize and read to himself every morning about unconditional love and bringing love and light into the world and loving himself and wanting other people to feel love. We made Auntie Jay a herbal potion together, the whole family. And there was nothing but love between him and I. The last conversation we had, though, was disturbing. I was talking about the foundation that the girls and I are starting called Sea Creatures Free, which intends to raise awareness through school performances about animals living in their natural environments and reuniting Lolita, the captured orca, back with her pod. And that led to the topic of breached whales and how humans come in and try to rescue them and try to save them, but instead traumatize them and put them on planes and, you know, and then retain them, and sometimes they go into captivity. And so we were talking about whether these animals should have a choice to breach themselves. So Koa looked me straight in the eye and he was like, yeah, they should have a choice, right, Mom? And I was like, yeah, they should have a choice. And then he asked me again, he's like, they should have a choice, right, Mom? Right in my eyes, staring me straight in my eyes. I was like, yes, that's what I said, they should have a choice. And then he asked me again, they should have a choice, right, Mom? And I was like, yeah, they should have a choice. And then so he folds his arms like this, and then he goes, so I should have a choice, right? So, so I said, yes. Like, what am I going to do? Like, say, oh, no, the freaking orcas can have a choice, but you don't get a choice? Like, what?
Yeah.
So I gave him permission, and I know that he wouldn't have gone without my permission.
Oh my God. I did too in a way.
So I didn't let that sink in at all. And I didn't let myself believe that it would actually happen, but deep down I knew at that point. The very last time I saw Koa, he was sleeping. I had prepared a gift for him, and I was secretly hoping that he'd stay asleep so he could find it as a surprise when he woke up. I silently opened his door and saw him resting gracefully with peace. The sun was streaming in through his big windows, and the arbutus tree was glowing outside, and he looked like an angel. I crouched down and left him the crystal with a love note expressing my appreciation for him and all that he's taught me. And with it, I left a bouquet of dried daisies, the biggest bouquet I could find. And on the note, the last words were, to an eternity of good luck. And I left his room with pure bliss in my heart, because I just assumed that I'd see him again because he was so happy. So, thinking about that moment, seeing him like that, keeps me strong. Since his passing, I feel his immense love more than ever and constantly. I feel like he's not gone, but he's happy and he's free. Koa, my fireball, Kobe, is back